Hey everyone, this is KAF here, and today I'm going to be talking about a very important pattern. Whether you're just learning or have been trading for some time or even are professional, knowing this pattern is going to pay off big for you. It's really important to learn if you want to be successful in the stock market. I like to call it trading the trend. Again, this is KAF. You can head to kafinvesting.com, learn a little bit more about my chat room. We'd love to have you join us on a 1 week free trial. All right, let's get started here. Now, to trade the trend, there are two different types of trends. Obviously, I don't mean to insult your intelligence. This might be kind of obvious, but just to break it down, we have the bullish trend on the left side, which means the stock is going upwards, and the bearish trend on the right side, which means the stock is trending downwards. Now, in order to get a confirmed trend, you need to see higher highs and higher lows from a bullish trend and lower highs and lower lows from a bearish trend. Now, stocks obviously will show a lot of volatility throughout the day and can move all over the place. But a trend is confirmed, and most traders will agree with this definition that a trend is confirmed once you get two series of higher highs and higher lows for bullish or two series of lower highs and lower lows for the bearish trend. So in order to kind of help you see this a little bit better, here is a real life example of some bullish trends and bearish trends. And you might say that's super simple. The stock's just going up, so it's a bullish trend. And yeah, there's some truth to that. But once we pick into it a little bit more, you'll see it's a little bit more complicated than that in how we trade these. So next up, I want to talk about how you know when a trend is broken and when it's going to reverse. So here, starting on the left side of the screen, once we get a series of two higher highs and two higher lows, we then have a confirmed bullish trend. But as it moves upward, you see it starts to reverse a little bit. Now you might ask yourself, when does this really start to reverse and when is the trend broken? Well, right here, you'll see that we have lower highs from the previous highs, but that does not necessarily mean the trend is broken. The trend is not officially broken and reversed until the most recent lows are also broken through. It is at that point that the trend then becomes a reverse. So if you are watching a bullish trend play out, in order for a reversal, you need to see lower highs and lower lows. And the opposite is also true. If a bearish trend is playing out and you're looking for a reversal, you need to see some higher highs and higher lows. That means the trend is broken and it's beginning to reverse. So here's a real life example from the stock market today of a stock which had a beautiful bull trend on it moving upwards there in the first part of the day, and then it started to pull back a little bit. Now you'll see that it did begin to make some lower highs right here at this level. Okay, now this does not necessarily mean, as I said before, that the bullish trend is broken. This bullish trend is not broken until we get a series of lower lows. You'll see the lows are still continuing to be higher even though the highs are now lower. Now, this is important to realize because this is actually a separate stock pattern, which we call a wedge, which I talk about in other videos of mine. So be sure to check those out. But just know that just because it has lower highs, it doesn't mean the trend is broken as long as these lows end up holding up and continue to make higher lows as well. So you'll see that even though this pulls back here, this actually ends up making some higher highs. Now, at what point do we officially see this trend get broken? As I mentioned, the trend breaks once we get lower highs and lower lows, and that is official right here at this point. You'll see here's the most recent highs. These are lower highs, obviously, from there. And then once this breaks below these lows right here, that's when we know that we're going to get a reversal movement here on this trend line. Now, just some basic trend line trading things to keep in mind. You never want to trade against the trend. So in this example I have here, if this is a clear upward bullish trend, you wouldn't want to try to just jump in randomly here or here or here, just hoping it kind of goes down, just saying, oh, this has gone up a lot, I bet it's going to start coming down. You don't want to do that because the trend is clearly still intact. So you don't want to, short too early. The opposite is also true. Here we have a bear trend, and you don't kind of just want to hope and pick and, right here and say, oh, this has been selling off for 30 minutes. I'm going to buy here. I bet it's going to reverse and start to go up. That is very, very risky. That's just like gambling. This is clearly a bear trend. And so you want to wait for that trend to really reverse. And I'm going to talk about more how to trade these really safely. So don't trade against the trend. That's the first thing to keep in mind. The other thing is you want to look at these trends on multiple time frames. In my previous chart, that was a 1 minute, all those candles represented 1 minute. But the more time frames that are in sync with the trend line that you're looking to trade, the better. Whether it be the 30-minute, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, the more the better. Now, this trend line trading pattern will work a little bit better with medium to lower volatility stocks, mainly because low float stocks will tend to be highly influenced and sometimes manipulated by traders and things that it can kind of throw off a lot of the trend lines. But there definitely is a place for trading low float stocks and small cap stocks with this trend line trading pattern as well. So don't count it out. It can be used in many different situations. So here are my rules, and this is how I specifically will trade the trend line pattern. The first thing you need to do is obviously decipher and make sure that a stock is trending one way or the other. So if you're looking to buy a stock and go long on the stock, you obviously really want to confirm that it is in fact in the, currently having a bull trend on it. And the more trends, as I mentioned earlier, the better. So you want to look out, you want to zoom out and look at different time frames as well. Now, when do you enter these stocks? Well, there's a couple different choices here, but I prefer the safer entry, which is on a break above the most recent highs once the bull trend is confirmed. And that'll make sense a little bit more in a second when I show you another chart. Having said that, with the stop loss, your stop loss is going to be on the crack below your most recent lows. And as for the price target, I'll explain a little bit more about that. Your price target really can actually be, unlimited depending on how strong the pattern is. So that's what's really nice about this as well, is you can ride these stocks and make some serious gains off of them. So you'll see here in this chart, as I'm going to help demonstrate how I would trade a chart like this. Obviously, I see where this goes in hindsight, but this is a chart from today's stock market. And I want to use this to help illustrate how you could potentially trade this stock using the trendline pattern. So you see there down in the bottom left gray box, it's really just trendless at this point. There's no bull trend, and there's no bear trend either. It's just totally trendless, just kind of random all over the place. When stocks are moving sideways like that, you typically do not want to enter because it's pretty 50-50. Instead, you want to wait till a trend line is confirmed. Now, this stock is actually forming another pattern as well, as I demonstrate here. It's actually forming a bull flag pattern, but that's a different technical analysis pattern. I have videos on that as well, so be sure to check those out on my channel as well if you're interested in that. Bull flag pattern is an awesome pattern. But for the sake of this, I want to show you how to trade this trend line pattern. So you'll see here, once the stock breaks out of that trendless zone, we finally start to get a confirmation of a bull trend here. There's our 4 points, 2 higher highs and 2 higher lows. We now have a confirmed bullish trend. Now, as I mentioned before, the entry point on this is going to be over the most recent highs once the bull trend is confirmed. So where would that be? If you want to stop the video and ask yourself, where would an entry point on this be? A break over most recent highs? There it is, right there. That's going to be your entry point. Once it makes new highs from its previous bullish trend highs, that's going to be your entry point. Now, where is your stop loss on this? As I mentioned on the slide before, your stop loss is going to be just underneath your most recent lows, or right there. Now, I really like this example because this example shows what a strong trend can do. Now, this stock actually ends up pulling back from where I initially bought it. See, bought in this area, made a nice move, but then began to pull back. But the bull trend was never spoiled here. This is just kind of sideways movement here. Yeah, it starts to sell off a little bit here, but it holds the support line. So this whole area here is really just kind of sideways movement. So there's no reason to get out as long as it is holding this level, which is my stop loss. It's just moving sideways, which is fine. The stock hasn't, it hasn't done anything yet. It just needs some time to breathe and move. Now, if this level of support were to fail and this fell through, I would be stopped out here. There's obviously no such thing as a 100% play in the stock market. Every pattern and everything you trade will have a chance to go against you. But in this case, we got a really nice hold of support here before it began to move up and start to really make its move here. All right, so I really like this example because it shows how this these previous lows are turn support, and this moves all the way up into end of day. Now, how do you know when to take profit on a stock like this? Well, you have two options. The first option of taking profit is to take profit and sell as soon as the bull trend has reversed and become a bear trend. Now, if you remember from the slides earlier, that happens once you start to see lower highs and lower lows. Another option to take profits on this is a trailing stop loss option. Now, a trailing stop loss it can be a little confusing at first, but once you kind of grasp it, it makes a lot of sense, and you'll probably want to use it in some of your trades. I don't use it a ton, but there are opportunities where I do want to use it. So trailing stop loss is a sell order, which is basically just going to follow the price of the stock as it moves upwards. So an example here, if you have a trailing stop of 15 cents, you will remain in that stock until the price of the stock drops 15 cents from its highs. So this means you could say you bought a stock at $10 and you end up putting a trailing stop in at 15 cents. Well, if the stock you buy at $10, if it immediately drops to $9.85, you will be stopped out. But if the stock continues up to $10.50, $10.75, and maybe even $11, your stop loss is going to move with it. So if the stock moves up to $11, your stop loss is going to move up to $10.85. It's going to just trail 15 cents from whatever the highest price is there. So that's an option to trade this pattern with, but I personally will typically take profits once it confirms and breaks below the most recent lows and highs, and really confirms that bear flag pattern here. Now, you could argue that this area right here, in a way, does kind of confirm a potential reversal here. We see lower lows, we see lower highs here, and then, of course, a lower low. But in this case, I had my stop loss in and I wanted to give it this room to breathe. I was okay with it kind of playing around in here. And then this just ended up really picking up steam for us because the overall trend line was strong on this. This is the 1 minute candles, but if you were to look at the hourly and daily, you'll see how strong this bullish trend line is. And that's what ends up pushing this stock higher. So I hope this is helpful. Head to kfinvesting.com and get started on a 1 week free trial. We'd love to have you in our chat room, and I'd love to work with you and answer any questions you have. Please like and subscribe. Comment below if you have any questions.